Hello, I'm Malcolm Hazlitt. Our guest on Our Time is a woman of two theatres, and that definitely needs some explanation, and we will with our guest, Dr Susan Belpario, who's a retired anaesthetist
in Australia.
I knew I'd get that wrong.
Anesthesiologist if you're in America.
Okay.
But we're in Australia.
But we are in Australia, so I do like our own accent. And she's also a fantastic photographer. But we're going to talk about the anaesthetic side of your life. Or what?
Anaesthetic.
Oh, no, anaesthesiologist.
No, that's in America.
Oh, that's in America. Mm-hmm. Say it again for me.
Anaesthetist.
Oh, anaesthetist, I can say that.
Good.
Isn't that funny? Because that really is quite a hard word for most people to get their tongue around.
It is a very hard word.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hard profession, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't actually realise what an anaesthetist is. A lot of people actually think that an anaesthetist is just some sort of glorified nurse or glorified technician.
Oh, no.
A lot of people don't actually realise that just like a surgeon or a physician or an orthopaedic surgeon, that in fact you are a medical specialist.
Yes.
So you do medicine and
first,
then you
and
do
then
a specialty. So
what drew you to anaesthetics?
You'll get it right eventually.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you know, I suppose first of all it was what drew me to medicine really, and then after that I had to think of a profession or a specialty that might have been easy to do part-time.
So you could have a family.
So that you could have a family. Mm-hmm. So it was very cut and dried to have something like anaesthetics.
Was it originally more male-orientated?
Everything was much more male-orientated.
Yeah.
But in fact, anaesthetics is a specialty which lends itself to a lot more women in the specialty.
Because you're
for
more
that
caring?
Reason. Well,
because you've got smaller hands?
See,
because it's nice when the lady does that to you when you're panicking? Because you're about to have a needle stuck
probably,
in.
I mean, that is one thing. That is one aspect. Very, very well noted.
Well, we were joking before about wearing masks because professionally you've had to wear a mask all your life.
For my whole career.
Of course.
And then I
now as you're retired.
And I have to wear a mask for the whole of my retirement.
Well, hopefully not for that much longer, and
hopefully
eventually everything will iron itself out. But what happens when that needle goes in your arm, or if it's gas that goes over your face? What happens?
That's a really good question, because, you know, we don't really know what happens. No one really knows
you love that
exactly why
great
or how an anaesthetic works, but it does. And essentially it does boil down fairly much to the molecular level, whereby, you know, sodium channels or calcium channels or whatever are blocked, and you undergo a reversible loss of consciousness.
Yes,
that's reversible is the very important point.
You wouldn't go to sleep forever though, would you?
No. Well, no, you would not.
Well,
that's not really.
You might.
Well, anaesthetics are very safe.
We're not talking about the same thing.
Anaesthetics are very safe.
Did you enjoy that? Did you enjoy the challenge of that, of being able to give somebody that peace, if you like, while something serious was being fixed?
Absolutely. It was enjoyable to be able to reassure them and support them as they were led into what for most people is quite a stressful thing.
Oh, very stressful.
The thought of having not only your anaesthetic but your surgery, and then the thought of what might happen afterwards, because the anaesthetist's job doesn't actually just, you know, involve having someone asleep in front of you. It involves pre-operative, where you actually see and assess the patient, see their medical conditions, and work out how the anaesthetic might impact upon those. And then to reassure the person that afterwards they will be as free of pain as you can make them, and recover as quickly.
Yes, I suppose, yes, it's the fear of the unknown, I suppose.
It is
in
indeed.
both cases.
Yes.
The fear of that. Count backwards from 10. Did you say that? What
Never.
did you say? Never said that. What did you say?
And, well, not really anything. You're just sort of talking to the person and reassuring them that, you know, now you're going to be drifting off. That's probably what I most often said.
Right.
just drifting off, and we'll see you at the end.
Yes. Well, that's always reassuring. We'll see you at the end.
Yes.
But listen, that's probably enough about that subject. Let's talk more about you, because you really do have a fascinating life story. Let's start at the very beginning. How many children in your family?
Well, I'm the eldest.
Sorry, how many siblings in your family? That's
I'm the eldest of 9.
Yes.
And I was born in a small country town in rural Queensland called Gatton, which is halfway between Brisbane and Toowoomba, and at the moment it's underwater. Well, it's actually just emerging from being underwater. And it was a rural area famous for growing potatoes and onions. And yes, so I just couldn't wait to get out of there, really.
And what time, when did you leave? Like, how old were you when you started med school?
When I started university, I had no choice but to leave and go to Brisbane, which was the big smoke.
Was that a hard, because that's a big family to leave?
It is a big family to leave, but there wasn't much for me in Gatton, I didn't think.
What about food with that many children on the dinner table at night? Was it who can grab the fastest gets fed?
Absolutely. There was never any wastage.
No.
We, we weren't particularly well off. My father was a second-hand Holden salesman, and yes, so we...
So everything that was done in the family had to count for something.
Absolutely.
So when you left home, though, and went to uni, was that difficult for you? Again, coming from that close-knit family unit, and then nobody.
That's right. It was actually quite difficult. It was quite confronting, because I was very naive. I mean, you don't get to do... I was 17.
Yeah, well, that's
and
understandable.
you don't get to do very much in Gatton, so I was as naive as they come.
It's like going to the lolly shop, really, then.
It was a big thing. But
So we just talked briefly about what made you specialise into anaesthetics, but was it a lecturer? Was it somebody you were dealing with that really fired you up to do that?
To do medicine?
I say that because in our last episode we were talking to a periodontist, and we were talking about the same thing, that they're going through the same process, but it was his lecturer that really inspired him to take up oral surgery.
Well, there were no real role models for that choice. I mean, I was always trying to do odd jobs in the town, and at one stage I was a golf caddy for the local GP. And he told me that he thought I was bright enough to do medicine, and I said, what's medicine? Because at that stage I was thinking I might want to become a nurse. But I wanted to be in that caring profession, because when I was 10 years old, my next sister down suffered a cerebral hemorrhage, and that was a very dramatic event in my life, and I felt so powerless at that stage to be able to do anything, as she suddenly fell to the floor and started having a grand mal seizure and turned blue and was fitting, and eventually, the local doctor was called that I used to caddy for, and she was sent to Brisbane, and we were told that she wasn't expected to survive, and she arrived in Brisbane and she was met by the paediatric neurosurgeon and the priest. So I felt so powerless as a 10-year-old child that I wanted to save people like that.
When you mention that, it should be a subject at primary school, how to attend to somebody, how to maybe resuscitate, or to begin to understand that you can help each other.
Yes, absolutely.
But at a much earlier age than we're currently doing it.
For sure. Indeed.
Interesting.
I agree.
So just carrying on with your life, so you continued and obviously came here to Adelaide?
Well, I sort of went via a very circular route, really, like, Queensland, and then I...
Oh, yes.
Well, I'm a Queenslander.
Yes, but I almost forgot.
Oh, yes. So, I became, for a while, a flying anaesthetist.
I don't think I've ever asked anybody a question by doing that before. But you knew exactly what I meant.
Yeah, that's right. I did what was, in fact, a very interesting job as a locum for the flying anaesthetist in outback Queensland. We were based in Longreach, and our parish consisted of most of outback Queensland. Every day we flew to work.
Amazing.
So we flew to a different little outback town every morning.
But what assistance you were able to give people? I mean, that's extraordinary in itself.
Yeah. You see, so people who lived, say, in Julia Creek or Hewenden, etc., like, in order for them to receive surgery, for them to actually have to travel to Brisbane, like 17 hours drive away, it's just impossible. So
could be too late.
we brought the surgery to them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't only for emergency surgery where it would be too late, but it was for elective surgery. If you needed your gallbladder out or, you know, a knee replacement, then you could have it in your own little town. And so there was the three of us. There was the flying surgeon, the flying anaesthetist, and the flying pilot.
Amazing. We're going to fly off to a short break right now, but we'll be back with Susan in a minute because I have some amazing photos to show you and some absolutely incredible ideas, some of which happened on a toilet roll. We'll be back in a tick. Our special guest in this episode of Our Time is retired
anaesthetist.
and I could say anaesthetist. I want to say anaesthetist, that word. Susan Belpario, who in fact has done so much more because you did the R thing a little while ago. Retired.
Oh yes, the R
Dirty
word.
word, retirement. Dirty word. But you didn't really because you can still be called to
a theatre. In fact, I did a lot of photography in theatres. I was a photographer for Shane Davidson Presents for some time.
For theatres in that sense.
Yes.
The other type of theatres and theatres where you've had exhibitions of your photography.
Correct.
The amazing thing is though, the word retirement is a bit frightening. Why did you retire?
Well, that's a bit of a
long story?
Well, not really. It's quite a short story. Like, I was transformed literally out of existence by the Transforming Health initiative of our previous government, who downgraded my hospital to the status of a nursing home in order to pay for the new Royal Adelaide Hospital.
Right.
And so a lot of specialists at that stage lost their jobs. And so
it's interesting to hear that, isn't it? Because I don't think the public really understand what this hospital, the whole issue with the election that's just finished. I don't think people actually understand how all this is working. So anyway, we'll leave it to the politicians.
Yeah,
but
we better
when
do
it
that.
knocks somebody out who still has many years of good service.
Exactly.
And your sons are virtually all grown up, and so it's now about what do you do for the rest of your life?
Well, that's right. I mean, a lot of people actually elected to go interstate or try and get jobs in other hospitals. I sort of looked around and I thought, well, you know, I'm 60. And I thought,
Baby.
am I going to go with the flow? Am I going to swim with the tide? And I thought, yes. So what will I do? I'll do the only sensible thing that anyone would do. They would retire and enrol as a fringe artist.
But before that, see, I've got one of your calendars here of top shots from 1990.
That was a fair while ago.
Well, it will come back into vogue one day.
It will, every 7 years.
Exactly, if you just count. And with just some absolutely amazing shots. Where was this, do you remember?
That was actually at a place called Freezing Gorge in Kakadu. You can't drive to Freezing Gorge, you have to walk there, carrying your backpack.
I mean, it almost looks like an abstract piece of art.
That's how I meant it to look.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a
this
reflection.
I love.
Yes, that's it.
I mean, what a fabulous shot.
Yellowwater Billabong in
So I'm going to whip through all of
Kakadu,
these, so bear with me.
and that's at Litchfield Park at Florence Falls.
Yeah, it's my favourite place. I nearly drowned.
Yes.
Being a lover of palm trees, I love that.
Yeah, that was at the bottom of Tolma Falls. You can't go to the bottom of Tolma Falls anymore. It's prohibited.
Is this in Litchfield as well?
Yes, it is in Litchfield.
Okay, that's what I was probably looking
Yes.
up at, something like that.
Yes.
Because I was going down for the last time.
And that was the Darwin Festival. I was living with an Irish sculptor at that time, a sculptor, and she created these amazing paper mache things that were actually strung up in the Arafura Sea at Mindle Beach. And that was a silhouette of those.
Quite beautiful.
And of course, that's Uluru at sunset.
Extraordinary, isn't it? What a beautiful shot.
Catherine Gorge, where all the tourists walk along. And
I'm whipping through these now because
Yes.
there's so much more I want to show.
yeah, that's actually a reflection again in Sandy Creek Falls at Litchfield National Park.
And now for November
Once again, Yellowwater Billabong at sunrise.
and December, where's
Ah,
Santa?
yes, that's sort of near the Northern Territory, Western Australia border. Just the amazing clouds and spinifex and beautiful landscape.
Absolutely beautiful. Now, this photograph is fascinating because they wouldn't let you put this on Instagram or Facebook.
Oh, they did let me put it there. The only problem was they actually then banned me and shut down my accounts for having such a provocative photo in their social media. I had no idea that there was some rule that if a little bit of nipple was showing, even if it was on your 3-year-old granddaughter, that would contravene the rules of social media.
Some
And
things are just a little crazy.
They are.
Now, I've lost that place, but I won't be showing
that's
that
all right,
again.
that doesn't matter.
So, tell me about your theatre work. This is not the theatre for the zip and the zip thing. This is the theatre for happy times.
So
So to speak.
you mean the fringe shows that I had
The
in
fringe
theatres?
shows, yes, because we've got a shot here of some of your pieces up on the wall.
Yes.
And you were saying to me before, this wasn't your, the rebirthing of you.
No, well, you see, like, this was my first attempt as a fringe artist, and it was fairly high-end, sort of black and white photography, and it didn't really go down the way I thought it would.
But this is what the fringe is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's for artists of all different types
Yes.
of genres to
So,
display
yeah,
what they've got
that's
to
right,
offer
that's
and see
right.
what the public thinks.
So it was a little bit disappointing because, you know, it was quite expensive getting all of those images printed and framed and everything. So the next year, rather than giving up, I thought,
This is my
well,
new
I'm going
career.
to do something different. I'm going to go for the other end, from the top end to sort of the bottom end, really.
You'll
And-
understand what she means by this in a tick, because from the top end to the bottom end. This I think is amazing, because you did a whole series of photos printed on toilet paper,
Correct.
and this was more or less the promo.
Yes, that's right.
So how did all
that was
this
my
work?
flyer.
Oh, that was your flyer.
That was my flyer.
So you could
I
tear
just
off a piece.
tear off a strip and then hand it out. So it was.
And the truth is, this is all you've got left of these, isn't it?
True.
They need to
That's
go
all.
in a glass case in a museum.
Yes, that is.
But you haven't got any of the toilet rolls with the photos on them.
I have, but I decided not to bring them in tonight.
What a shame. What a shame.
It is a shame, but they were. You can actually view them, I believe, on my Facebook artist page.
Okay.
There is a collection of my cornucopia
Now,
of.
what's it called, your Facebook artist page?
Oh, just Susan Belpario artist, I suppose.
Is that what it says?
Yeah. If you go to my
Because
website.
your kids set all that up for you.
Yes, yes.
And what's your website?
www.susanbelpario.com.
Okay.
And from there you can view my Instagram, you can view my
Everything.
Facebook
Right.
artist page, which will have a selection of the Outback Dunnies that appeared on the toilet
Yes,
paper
well-
in a real toilet.
Right, and this is the story, which I think is hysterical, because you've taken photos of toilets all over the world.
That's right, all over the world.
What a lovely thing to do.
Well, it is. I've got a lot of collections of various things: toilets, tombstones, washing lines, you name
Now, were
it.
these
I've
things
got it.
going through your mind while you were checking your watch or counting how long somebody was asleep? What was going through your mind in those times?
No, I am entirely focused on the job at hand at that stage. I don't fulfil the stereotype of sitting in operating theatre reading the newspaper.
No, well, thank goodness for that.
Yes.
Because it would be frightening to wake up in the middle of.
Yes, it would be, and most people luckily don't undergo that experience of waking up in the middle, though on very rare occasions some people can have awareness during their surgery, but it's very uncommon.
And you are in safe hands at the end of the day.
Yes, you are. I mean, having an anaesthetic in Australia is one of the safest places in the world to have one, and in fact you're probably safer having an anaesthetic than you are out on the roads.
Because you've got so many people looking after you, I guess.
Correct.
Yeah. It still's a very, a scary time, I suppose, for the average person.
It absolutely
and
is.
I think the hardest part is, it's like coming into a TV studio or walking onto a stage. If you're not familiar with that, it's that new experience.
Very confronting.
Yes. And you know that you're the centre of attention, but you don't particularly want to be.
Correct.
And I suppose also what's been difficult for a lot of people with COVID happening is long waits for elective surgery as well. So I guess when you get to the point that, this procedure's going to be done, you suddenly think, I'm glad this is over. Put me to sleep, get on with it so I can be well again.
Yes, exactly correct. Yes.
So in another life, what is it you'd like to do? You've done the medicine, you've raised a successful family. We were talking before about your grandmother was a pianist.
No, my mother.
Your mother was
a pianist.
And your son has become extraordinary.
Yes, indeed. So I think it may have skipped a generation, although I'm a great musical appreciator. And I did learn piano myself until about grade 4.
But you've inherited the eye for these things.
Yes, I got that from my grandfather.
And we've got one more shot of some other photos you've taken. And because they're real, the colours in the photographs are really amazing. Let's have a look at those because these are extraordinary. Where are they?
Yeah, this is in a little cove in Nightcliff in Darwin, and the rocks are called porcelainite. And I've really become something of a porcelainite hunter because these
Is
rocks
this like anaesthesiologists?
They are really amazing, and those are the real colours. I don't use Photoshop. I don't manipulate my photos. What you see is what you get. And these are all like close-ups of the rocks down in that cove. So, you might go to that cove and you're not going to see what I saw because, I'm there sort of right down, zooming in on those...
so these are really tight close-ups.
Yes. Yes.
That the human eye wouldn't necessarily be able to pick up.
Oh, you would. You just you have to be able to see them. A lot of people might just walk past.
No, I understand what you're saying. Do you think your brain, for being a medical person, has the ability to see a little bit more than the average person?
I don't know whether it's got anything to do with that, but my brain certainly does see a lot more. But whether it's related to the former, I'm not sure.
Isn't the human body amazing?
It is really an incredible thing.
Isn't it the most extraordinary thing? We're so lucky. You'll be lucky too, because we're going to take a short break and we'll be back with our last segment with Dr. Susan. And we're here with Susan Belpario, and we've talked about her life giving anaesthetics to people. See how I got around that? And also the amazing photographs she's taken, like this one. Now, I thought when I first saw this that you'd been to Victoria, you'd been to the Victorian Arts Centre, you'd seen the water going down the glass and you'd taken a photograph from inside, but how wrong was I?
That's right. Well, this was actually at Berry Springs, just outside Litchfield National Park in the Northern Territory.
Yep.
And there's a little ledge behind that beautiful waterfall
where I nearly drowned.
Sitting, and Malcolm nearly drowned.
So I know, I actually know exactly where this shot came from, but it's extraordinary.
And I was sitting there behind the ledge, and some friends were trying to claw their way in to sit on the ledge you know,
Behind the
beside me, and I
waterfall.
said, "Stop, stop."
So you were there, and
I was
the
sitting there
waterfall's
waiting for
there,
them,
and they're there
and they're
going,
on the
"Ah."
other side. Yeah. So I had a
Amazing.
Nikonus underwater camera, so I like to cover my photography from all sorts of angles underwater.
Did you get any shots of the little fishies that are in there? 'Cause
No, so boring.
I found them fascinating. Just watching how they would mill around anything that could be food. Fascinating.
No.
Susan, it's been lovely talking to you. I often ask people this question: what do you do? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Wow, there's so many things, you know. Maybe a writer. I'm doing my memoirs at the moment, and so I think that's the next project.
Yeah, I would advise everyone to do that because, in truth, when we go, who's going to remember what we did? Particularly if you leave it for your children, because they only knew you from when they were born. They don't know what you did before that.
They don't.
And often that's what makes you special.
Well,
But you're special as well now. Because
oh,
I
thank
think
you, Malcolm.
no, but where you're going with all these things, you know, it really is just amazing. So, congratulations, well done. And can I go and use this now?
Yes, you can.
I can't. It's the last roll. So, until next time on OurTime, thank you very much, Susan. We'll see you soon. Keep yourself nice till then. Bye.